This is Papa Smurf. You're listening to Our Lifestyle, the podcast, with ODB and the Mayor.
Yo, it's Our Lifestyle Podcast, episode 242, coming at you from the Custom Car Show Productions compound here just north of Tampa, Florida, and we are super excited this weekend. Many of you are going to be on the road to Biloxi, Mississippi, and you're going to be in for a treat. It's Scraping the Coast 19th annual event, the 25th through the 27th. If you've never been to Scraping the Coast, you're missing out. It's one of the biggest, baddest shows in the country, one of our top favorite shows, and we're going to be inside with the Freon poisoning, a.k.a. air conditioning, all weekend long. Come by. Friday, Saturday for sure. May have to peel out of town a little bit early on Sunday just to kind of get back with some things going down, but big ups to the entire Custom Car Show Productions fam. If you're there on Friday, come by the OLP booth. We've got the new Out of Air, also known as Back to the Future, shirts for sale, and of course go by the Scraping the Coast official booth where they'll have stickers, shirts, skate decks, and so much more. Many of you are trying to hit me up, hey man, I need a shirt. Listen, if you want the Out of Air stuff, you need to buy it now. It's going to be gone, I have a feeling, at Scraping. And then of course, if you do want something from Scraping, you got to be there to get it, so that stuff's going to go quick. But episode 242, as we kind of transition in here, Biggity Mike the Mayor is obviously busy gallivanting around to all of his home watch customers. And you know, Mike, there's no bigger gallivanter than Biggity Mike. So he's doing his thing. I'm going to intro this episode and kind of keep it a little bit tighter for this week. Reason being is obviously we got a condensed week with work and getting out of town on Thursday, on the road again, over to Biloxi, as I had mentioned. So I want to stop for a moment, as I do when I intro these solo, and just thank all of the new listeners that we picked up. With every episode, we continue to pick up new listeners, whether they're searching it. Many of you are sharing the podcast through social media like Facebook, Instagram, on your Instagram stories, and all that cool, awesome, fun stuff. And we really appreciate it. The last episode was a huge hit. I mean, the amount of people that were texting saying, wow, what an interview. Van Diemen is the man. Man, I just had a great time sitting down with Steve. And, like I always try to preach, we're no better than the next guy. We just love this stuff. We're addicted. I'm addicted to it. I think I'm a little bit more addicted than Biggity Mike, but in all seriousness, Mike's the homie. And so that's kind of what we got going down. But I want to just thank, again, everyone for the continued support, whether you bought merch, you come by, slap hands. Some of you will feed us some good photos here and there. And, we're not the quickest to get always back. I know on Instagram, there's a lot of messages that come in, and just trying to balance everything and do a weekly podcast is not easy. But, if you do ever, unearth some photos, or you want to share something cool, feel free to email us, ourlifestylepodcast@gmail.com. Love seeing the stuff that comes in, and I do try to share as much as I can. Now, I want to thank Graphics Mafia here at the top. They're a great partner of ours. You can go on graphicsmafia.com. That's graphics with an X, and you can do custom orders. There's an FAQ out there, but they do stickers, custom text. You can do your Instagram or TikTok name for your vehicle, and they got ultra low prices on this stuff. They're going to be out at Scraping the Coast. Look for the red Graphics Mafia tent. Go by. They take cards. They take cash. Let Buddy and Ryan know that you heard OLP plugging their awesome, awesome products. Now, as I mentioned, this episode, I'm going to mix it up some, right? So, we're regimented, 52 episodes per year. I mean, it's insane sometimes when I think about the homie Matt Thompson, Billet fan. Sometimes he goes, man, I don't know how you have the time. And my only response is, I don't know either. Sometimes, not boasting, but I've just learned, it's like my dad used to say, if you don't get into regiment or you don't get into routine, it makes things a little bit harder. So for me, keeping the routine of every week keeps us going. So, that's how we do. But the scene updates, there were a couple that I wanted to share. Obviously, we're going to be at Scraping the Coast this weekend. The next event after this for the Custom Car Show Productions fam is going to be Biggity Bayou Showdown. That's, of course, closer to Thanksgiving. We'll have Sean Randall. We'll have some of the kinfolk and hopefully Greg, the big homie, on in the near future to talk about Bayou Showdown. But so obviously we'll be at Scraping this weekend, right? Here is one scene update that I thought was pretty cool. Was Kelly Muma, M-U-M-A. She had shared earlier this week, took my 92 to its first car show in over 20 years, volunteered at Dream Builders, was so involved that I didn't even take any photos. Thanks, Craig, for getting this one. Craig Braid, the homie, the big homie from the Pacific Northwest, had shared this with me, and I thought that was pretty cool. And think about it, this Nissan Topper this truck has not been to a show in 20 years. So Kelly, freaking badass, awesome stuff. Now, another scene update I wanted to provide is Chad Luke. He does a lot of stuff there at his place and at home. But you also have Sean Rose, two good guys. They're friends. They do an amazing job individually with bead rolling. They're putting together some items for this raffle for Scraping the Coast 2021. So there's going to be a huge auction, I think is what they're calling it. And, Chad and Sean Rose and these guys and so many people in the scene are coming together. So I just love what they do, and I just wanted to give them a big, big props there. Really looking forward to this weekend in Biloxi. So continuing the scene updates. So the digital updates, really here I just want to kind of reinforce Street Trucks is going to change their live stream schedule a little bit based upon some changes and things like that. They are going to plan for the remaining events that they have. And then, of course, we'll be out. It looks like we may even make SEMA. I know Street Trucks is going to be there. I'm going to try to be there. I want to also make the Mini Truck Hall of Fame. So more to come there. But from a digital standpoint, you'll see a little bit of a shift with the live streams. And then we'll continue to see Street Trucks ramp up their social media presence. So they've got some big things in store. Not sure that I can share yet what those are, but just know they're going to be coming to even more platforms. That's the Street Trucks fam. Do me a favor, go out and subscribe to this magazine. Even if you don't read magazines front to back, it really helps. You can send back snail mail, the little card that will fall out if you're at the grocery store or bookstore. Or you can, of course, subscribe, streettrucksmag.com, scroll to the bottom, and click on subscribe. Now, from a print magazine standpoint, next week we'll have a lot more, but the All-Time Low magazine did arrive, and man, it is a good issue. There's so much work. I talked to Rich at Southeast Mini Truck and Nats, and he talked about some of the hiccups they had, and they're so thankful for everyone that continues to be patient with them. Putting together kind of a homegrown magazine is not an easy task, and what they do, and you have people like Michelle Boone, and just so many good people behind the scenes. Damien is another good one. All these good people that are putting together this magazine, the content, they're going to shows on their free time. And, the best thing we can do is go out there and subscribe. atlmagazine.com, hit them up, let them know OLP sent you. And if you buy an individual issue, great. If you can afford to subscribe, it's 6 issues. It's a bi-monthly publication. So the print mags are on the rise, and I'm looking forward to showcasing some of that. And if I haven't announced that prior, Tony Marie was our set-down guest for this month. She talks a little bit about how she met her husband, but she's been on the rise and just love what she's doing. And what's pretty cool about Tony Marie is, she doesn't claim to be a mini trucker, so to speak, but she's out there, she's mingling, she's going to shows, she's building cool stuff. And, it was just an honor to sit down with her and highlight another awesome female that's tied to our truck scene. Now, from a Facebook standpoint, I did cover a few of those items already, so, I'll throw those out there. And what I thought was cool, the one other one I wanted to mention was Sean Dell picked up a new Cadillac. It's a 62 convertible that he had said that he had picked up. And I tell you what, man, a big boat, land yacht, whatever you want to call them. Man, I love these cars, and man, it looks damn good. So big ups to the homie Sean Dell, previous guest, great dude. Now, from an Instagram standpoint, I know I had saved something here. It looks like our family at Made of Steel, they're going to be doing another event this year. It's going to be a toy drive based at the Deezerland Park in Orlando. I know Dave Schulman has talked a little bit about this place. Deezerland, I believe I'm saying it right, is Orlando's most thrilling attraction, all under one unique roof. And if you go to Made of Steel Show on Instagram, you can click on Deezerland's Park Orlando handle, and you can go out there and you can follow them. So it's pretty cool, man. Made of Steel, we had a great time at the event this year, and we're looking forward to seeing what they pull together here. Now, in addition to that, I want to thank all of the people like Ben Smith that have been out there repping the new Out of Air OLP gear. And he posted a very cool photo. And again, I hope everyone had a great Father's Day. But he posted a great photo with him and his son, Riley Smith. And they're just good people. They always support, and they're part of the motivation for us to continue with some of the nods that we've done with BTTF, also known as Back to the Future, because they, of course, reinforce two things they love: mini trucks / OLP, and Back to the Future. So big ups to Ben Smith, 1979 on Instagram, and then, of course, he tagged his son, Riley Smith. So big ups to the homies. And then really the only other thing I was going to mention is Joey at Get Decked. If you want your vehicle or your artwork or your photo rather, on a skate deck, Joey at Get Decked can make that happen. You can look up Get Decked on Instagram or Get Decked on Facebook. Reach out to Joey via the DM. You know how it goes. It goes down in the DM. And let him know what you're looking for. He has been on a tear doing decks for OLP, and then, of course, Scraping the Coast. Man, I might go broke buying some of these decks from him, from Scraping the Coast, rather. They've got some really good ones with lowriders, lifted trucks, mini trucks, C10, K5 Blazer deals, topless, you name it. They've got it. So much respect over to Joey. He's a hustler. He's a good dude. He always comes through on his word, and we love what he does. But those new Out of Air DeLorean / BTTF skate decks, though, we cannot wait to launch them. We've got more stuff coming. I've hinted a little bit on Facebook, a little bit on Instagram what's coming. We're going to drop some heat on you guys this Friday. You got to come by the OLP booth at Scraping the Coast. So the scene updates brought to you by our family at Garage Gear Clothing. Give them a follow. Big ups to the homies. Garage Gear Clothing. They're on TikTok. They're on YouTube with free content. And then, of course, they're on Facebook and Instagram. Real deal. Holyfield. Garage Gear Clothing. All right, so the key show updates. Listen, we have pounded and pounded and pounded these key show updates every single week. And I know sometimes you guys are like, oh, man, ODB, I'm already on the calendar. I've already went to ourlifestylepodcast.com. I've already, on the left side, clicked on official OLP show calendar. And then I've clicked where it says click here to subscribe. I'm locked in. I've got all these dates. And if you have, thank you. If you haven't, it's that easy. ourlifestylepodcast.com, as I mentioned, on the left side, go ahead and click here. And then you have to click here one more time to subscribe. Android or iPhone does not matter. The main two shows I want to highlight here right now are a couple, right? So we just had the Spark Show on last week. Go back and listen if you haven't. You had Adam Tripp talk a lot about that upcoming show in August. We're looking forward to it in Sevierville, Tennessee. But the two key shows that I want to really reinforce right now are Relaxin' in the Northwest, The Awakening, okay? This show is one that it looks like I'm going to be able to make it to, barring any craziness at work. And you can, on Facebook or Instagram, type in Relaxin' in the NW. It's also known as The Awakening, okay? This show technically is moving, I think it's 3.5 hours south. So I know for our northern kinfolk, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but it's Medford, Oregon, July 28th through August 1st. And I've already heard about some of the homies that are looking forward to flying on up, gallivanting on up. You can find more information, as I mentioned, on Facebook. There's hotels you can stay in. There's going to be people camping. There's a lot of stuff going down. But all I can tell you is relaxing in the Northwest, the Awakening. It's going to be awesome. The last time they had the event was July of 2019. I went up there. I had such a damn good time hanging out with No Regrets. Christina was there. The kinfolk, all the good kinfolk from Forbidden Fantasy. Craig and Sitting Pretty and all of the homies and the chicas, and everyone was having a damn good time. This is what the truck scene's all about. If you can, go on whatever damn app that you use to book flights or look at flights, whether it's a Southwest deal, a bookings.com, Willie, you name it, okay? Start looking, just look, okay? Just dream for a minute, even if you think you can't go. Go out and start digging. You might find a cheap flight, okay? I'm getting ready. I'll talk about it next week. I'm going to be going to Pennsylvania/Ohio very soon, and it's a family deal. I didn't think I was going to be able to go. I was going to have to, keep all my time scheduled for truck shows, and a little of that's opened up on my end. But I was blown away, man. I went online, and I found some cheap tickets on up to Pittsburgh area, so you'd be amazed, although prices are kind of on the rise, you might be able to still find a good ticket depending on what airline, what app, all that fun stuff. But if you can come out to relax in the Northwest, the Awakening, it's going to be a damn good time. There's a lot of more information out there. I know Ron's helping, and just reach out to them on Facebook, post your questions there, and we'll try to get a Q&A going here very soon. So there's Relaxing in the Northwest, the Awakening, as I had mentioned, and Slamfest, okay? Jonathan Hawkins recently came on to talk all about Slamfest. Mini Madness is holding their 30th annual event, and you can go to Instagram, type in Mini Madness, and if you tap the link in their bio, it'll take you to minimadness.com. Now, their website, when you go here at the bottom, there's going to be a link that says click here for more show info. When you do that, at the very top, then you have to click on online registration, and then you have to click on either car, truck, and bike show, sponsor, or vendor. Of course, you're going to click on car and truck show, and then there's a form that you fill out. It's real easy. The indoor is sold out. Registration info, are you looking to add a golf cart, motorized vehicle? No refunds, all sales are final. Go ahead and sign your life away. Oftentimes, people ask, hey, what shows should I come to? The answer is, if you're in Florida or you want to come to Florida, October is a fantastic month for weather. Slamfest is the longest running show that I know of anywhere around here. So, Slamfest, October, 30th annual. I'm sure they're going to do it big. I know they're holding some stuff close to the vest. Big ups to Mini Madness. I've always hashtagged Mini Madness CC on Instagram for any posts that I've made related to that famed club. Almost 900 hashtags there. And just a good job overall as a club representing the scene for many, 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 many years. This will be my 25th straight. I cannot believe it. Mini Madness Inc. Big ups to you guys, and I hope to see you guys at Slamfest 30. And you can check on that hashtag. We'll be using the hashtag Slamfest30 to curate all of those badass posts. Slamfest30 or Slamfest 2021. You name it. We'll be there. We'll be bringing you the coverage. But we hope that you'll come down. Our booth will be there, and we'll be slinging merch. The Key Show updates brought to you by our family at the West Coast Influence. You can visit minitruckfilm.com and order the Blu-ray or DVD. Yes, you heard that right. It's a mini truck-inspired documentary, Blu-ray or DVD. It's easy, minitruckfilm.com. All right, so the podcast updates, there's not a lot to share here, folks. All I can tell you is we're going to be out here this weekend at Scraping the Coast. We're looking forward to it. Speaking about 2 decades, it's a 19th annual event, and we love what the team continues to do, so we're going to be doing that. We're going to be launching, as we mentioned, the Out of Air. So if you participated in the pre-sale, all of that stuff, orders worldwide have shipped out. So that's fantastic news for all of you guys. Many of you are hashtagging the Outta Air, OUTTAAIR, right? 2 A's in the middle. And so that's fantastic. We appreciate you guys doing that. But if you want to come by the booth and get some exclusive content or exclusive merch that we only sell at shows, some things that we have not released, please come on by. We really appreciate all the support, and thank you guys so much. Now, if you are on an iPhone or if you're on an iPhone, rather, go to the pre-installed podcast app. It's a purple icon. Tap on Library, select OLP, scroll to the bottom, tap on a 5-star review. We would appreciate that. We have 237 ratings, but we need to get to 250. At least leave a 5-star rating. If you want to go a step further, write a review. Podcast updates brought to you by our family Joey at Get Decked, as we mentioned earlier. Get Decked on Facebook or Instagram for information on how to put your photo or vehicle on a skate deck. Last but not least, the only other thing I'm going to cover this week before we roll into audio. I didn't even talk about this at the top. What the hell was I thinking? Okay. We have Chris Schmidt, NC for life, on this episode. I think without Miggity Mike the Mayor, I'm just lost here. But Chris Schmidt, longtime NC member. Truck was on the cover of Mini Truckin. Dude, what a great guy. We sit down. We have a great conversation about a lot of cool stuff. So that's coming up here in just a moment. But when I go back on Facebook, just a couple things I wanted to mention from an Airhead Nation standpoint. I know Lauren Miller, Greg's daughter, has continued to post and said, look, there's not a lot of updates to share. Really, everything has remained unchanged. She had posted this on the 20th of June. So, continued prayers and support for the big homie, Greg Miller. We're hoping that he's going to be okay. Billy Weekly, a previous guest, a great homie of the podcast, great friend. Happy 18th wedding anniversary to his lovely wife. That's Billy Weekly, the OG, as I like to call him, Real Deal Holyfield. Also saw Ed Testerman said he wanted to wish his wonderfully amazing wife a happy anniversary. And I tell you what, as much cool stuff as that guy has, from trucks to OLP gear and merch, he's a smart man, thanking his awesome wife for letting him do the damn thing. He's a good dude. Love me some Ed Testerman. You had Brooke and Lauren, RA fam, Florida. Happy gotcha day, buddy. We are doing the home trial, but this dog feels right. He's a big, goofy, friendly fellow, and pretty awesome stuff. Love that they're going to be getting themselves a pup now, after their other dog passing away. Remember, all dogs go to heaven. Anthony Cobb, hopefully they can tell me what's wrong or find an issue. The issue with my eye has been killing me for a week now, so Anthony, we hope you get through that, and wish you all the success, homie, with kind of getting back on your feet. So, Airhead Nation updates brought to you by Hammered Weekend Wear. We tell you time and time again, you can go to HAMMERD weekendwear.com, and you can rock down to Electric Avenue. I don't know how Mike knew that one last time, okay? But hammeredweekendwear.com, you can go to products, so when you go to tees, you're going to see the two newest ones are Total Domination, a little bit of a nod there to Oliver Porter, one of the OGs in the scene. But you got my severed brother, Kool-Aid's Truck, on the shirt. But you also have Electric Avenue. Prices as low as $22, small all the way to 5XL large. So 5XL large blacks. So they've got them if you want to rock down to Electric Avenue with a Tesla, or you want Total Domination, among so many other things. They've got Sundays are for Bloody Marys, Going Harder in the Paint, One Nation Under the Influence, or I want to be formal, but I'm here to get hammered, tuxedo shirt. Love what they do. HAMMERD weekendwear.com, or click the link in their Instagram bio. I told you I'm going to keep it short and sweet. That is not easy for me to do. Thank you so much for the continued support, for everybody that continues to rock with us. We're going to keep the pedal stomped into the second half of 2021. And if we complete this year, it's another full year straight, 52 weeks in a row with the best damn content we can bring you guys. And remember, we do it all for free, so we appreciate the support. OurLifestylePodcast.com if you want to buy merch, or come by and see us at our booth. We love to chop it up and just talk, if nothing else. ODB and the mayor, we at ya. Enjoy this audio from the big homie, Chris Schmidt, NC for life. We at ya. Peace. Yo, as I mentioned, I got a guest that we've had on the list a while, and we're just excited to have Chris Schmidt here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, man. How you been?
Life is good, man. I appreciate you syncing up with us, and it's pretty cool. We kind of reconnected recently with social media, but for those that maybe don't know you, Chris, like maybe give your a little bit of a rundown. Who is Chris Schmidt?
Well, I've been in the mini truck scene for in and out. Obviously, when I was younger, I used to work for Mini Truck Magazine back in the day as a freelance photographer. I actually got into the mini truck game. Believe it or not, I was down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, on my BMX bike, cruising around, and Myrtle Beach and madness was going on.
No way, man.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome.
That was way in the younger years. Probably, I think I was like 19 or 20 years old.
Damn. Now,
yeah.
Did you, I was going to ask you, where did you grow up at primarily?
I live in upstate New York, but as the SoCal guys call it, Southern Canada, because they came up to visit one time. And it was so far up. But yeah, I live in upstate New York, which is like 3 hours outside of New York City.
Okay. And now so up in that area, what did you guys do as kids, man? Just, romping around on the bikes or what?
Yeah, back in the day, we're, either on a skateboard or a BMX bike, cruising around, racing BMX bikes, and got into the freestyle thing and snowboarding and all that good stuff, Yeah,
it was odd growing up in Florida, born and raised. I always thought, I'm sure, some people that didn't live in New York, I always thought, New York was like New York City. That's all I knew, right, from TV and movies and stuff. So a few years ago, we had a chance to go. I went for work to New Jersey, and then we went over to see Ground Zero and stuff like that. But 4 years ago, my wife and I went to Pittsburgh, and then we had drove up to Niagara. And man, driving through some of that, I guess the northern area up near Buffalo and all that stuff, dude, man, there's a lot of cool, just wide open spaces, man.
Yeah, I mean, people, like you said, when I used to travel with the magazine, everybody's like, oh, you're from New York City. I was like, no, New York City is New York City. You can travel an hour outside the city and you're in the country.
Right. It's not like when, Crocodile Dundee 2, when it was in the city, man. It's like, that's, but yeah, like you said, with upstate and things like that, I mean, there were just kind of just places wide open, and when we went to Niagara, I didn't realize how much of a tourist type thing that is.
Yeah, 100%. But, you're from Florida, so I'm from New York, so I never went to Niagara Falls or, unfortunately, the World Trade Center or anything like that until after it unfortunately what happened. Yep. But when you're from a certain state, you don't think of anything in your state is cool.
Well, perfect example, I mean, I hate to say it, I talked to my boss recently about it. He was talking about on his honeymoon, he was down in the Keys back in 20 some odd years ago, maybe mid 90s, and for me, I've lived here my whole life, but I've never went down there because I'm always you hear about the traffic when you get to the 7 Mile Bridge or whatever. I'm like, sitting in that. Of course, there's you can fly or you can even take a speedboat down there. But yeah, it's the same thing down here. There's state parks that I haven't been to either.
Yeah, 100%. But when I started working in the magazine, was I'd fly in for shows every.
Oh yeah.
Take up as much as I could, see as much as I could while I was there. So it was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what I wanted to kind of ask is, how did you get involved? Obviously, you talked about a little bit of the bikes and skateboarding, hanging out up in New York, upstate New York. So how does someone like that and that culture and that type of deal, what was the gateway for you to get involved with, the custom truck scene?
Well, like I said, we're up in the hot rod scene and all that jazz. And I was down in Myrtle Beach with my parents, and I said, this is cool. My dad was in the trucks, but not crazy. So I saw the mini trucks. I'm like, this is awesome. Went along with the whole generation, I guess. The skateboard, the Max, the whole vibe. Everybody was cool. You talk to guys in their trucks. So I'm like, I got to build one of these. So when I got home, I found a 85 S10 that I built, and that's what got me started in the scene.
Really? Yeah. So you when you traveled down to Myrtle Beach, you said that was because your family was down there.
Yeah, we used to go on vacation there every year.
Ah,
Up
yeah,
by me, there was no one with a mini truck. There was, because it's crazy, because everybody's like, oh, I always trailered my truck, because for me to get to a show, what a truck show is like 4 hours.
got it. Yeah, because see, that always interested me, like, knowing the scene. Now, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of folks up in that region, but specifically in certain pockets, there weren't, like you said, a lot of mini trucks right around you, or any at all. So it always interested me, like, how someone, like, where you lived, if it was like the magazine or whatever. But it makes sense. So you went down to, like, Myrtle Beach. I never really spent time there, but I know it's a big destination, right? People go there, summer's kicking off, all that stuff. So
Yep.
you're down there, you're seeing the guys basing, minis, hopping, whatever, and then that's just like sparked your interest.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I was like, I want to build one of these things.
Yeah, man.
And from there on, like I said, I found a used 85 S10, put the snug top on it, put the ground effects on it. I was crazy. I just had IROC wheels on it back in the day.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. That was the era. And now growing up in that area, like, I'm a big hip hop fan. Just because coming out of the '80s, like, stuff was growing with, like, Beastie Boys, and you had Daz Effects, and you just had LL Cool J and all these different artists and whatever. But, like, you growing up there, were you influenced by that kind of stuff too, or were you into,
oh,
like,
100%.
what kind of?
We had,
Okay,
yeah, because we're so, we're near the city, so we always had that stuff. They would come here because where I live is right by it's the capital of New York. So, they would come perform, so we go see them, and, like, it was just this whole, it was a cool scene. Like, the late '80s and early '90s was like
popping off.
It was awesome. Like, my son, who's 17 now, is like, oh, I wish I grew up when you grew up.
I know, right? Yeah, it kind of makes you like, yeah. No, because
Yeah.
well, there's so many, like, throwback pages and '80s pages, '80s, '90s. I mean, who would have ever thought it? A lot of us are living in the moment, but I think back to the childhood, and yeah, it was a fun era, but you don't realize that, like, okay, in 30 years, people are going to be like, no, this was the shit, But now, I didn't Google this. My, I don't remember everything with geography. Was it Albany is the capital of New York?
Correct. Yep.
All
So
right,
I live,
good
like, in a
point.
suburb, like, right outside of Albany. So,
Okay, got it. Yep.
yeah.
So, like, circa what year is this that you kind of get your, the 85? You're talking, like, late 80s, early 90s, right?
Yeah, I was 1990. I got it. I just graduated from high school, looking for a vehicle, snatched that thing up, got lucky, and, like I said, put the ground effects on it, the snug top, and dude, I sat there for like 2 hours with a Sawzall debating whether to do a walkthrough or not.
That's awesome.
I finally just sent it with the Sawzall. I'm just like, all right, let's do this, and went through with it and went from there. Put hydraulics on it, cruised that thing everywhere, drove to Myrtle Beach.
Damn.
Everywhere. The Charlotte for Boger Bash.
Wow.
All that stuff. So, yeah.
So,
like I said, for me to go anywhere where there's a lot of mini trucks, there was some here and there around the mid-'90s here, but the big scene was southern Jersey and further down the eastern seaboard,
Oh, yeah. And what's ironic is, like, if you look at the apex of, like, we're all kind of within the same vicinity of age, but you start to look at, like, the magazine, comes out 88, 89, it really gets going quarterly, early 90s, Courtney's on his rise, and then there's a lot of guys, like someone I was texting with earlier, someone I really look up to, good dude. Every time I talk with great conversations, and one of your homies, like Phil Fowler, right? So all these different guys up in that area, dude. I mean, you're hard pressed to find a better guy than that, man.
Oh, 100%. You know what though? Almost everybody in the scene, and, like, I think you guys described best. It's a lifestyle.
Oh yeah.
It's not a sport. Because I built my last truck, my Sonoma, my '94. And I got married, had kids, and my kids became my life.
Oh yeah,
and that's what I did. That was my priority. But I've never lost my friends in the mini truck scene. And you don't need to see somebody for 5 years.
Yes.
And you just start talking to them. It was just like you were hanging out last weekend at a show.
Yeah, and Phil always smiles with that famous smile whenever I tell the stories of when I first met him. It was weird. I felt like I knew him, And it's not to make his head feel big, but I would look in the magazine, right? Because we'll talk about how you were tied to it, but we'd look in there and like I'd see this guy, right, sitting on a wave runner, sitting here, and these funny photos, and he became kind of a part of, like you said, the lifestyle. And when I met him, I was like, oh man, I know you, Phil Fowler, man, from that crew that does that show, and there's the bowling tournament and this and that. So it is pretty cool.
Yeah, well, when you talk to him again, ask him about his. He was kind of like the ringleader of the stuff that goes on at Carlisle, Pennsylvania, at the campground at night.
Yeah, he was telling me I needed to ask you about like Carlisle all truck nats, and something with go-karts, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I got some good stories from Carlisle, like you said, with Courtney and stuff like that.
Yeah, brother. Well,
we can get into that.
Oh yeah. Now you hinted at your GMC, and sometimes like I'll share too much about maybe some stuff I know, but talk to us a little bit about it. It graced the cover of Mini Truckin, and many regard it, including myself, as one of the cleanest built, dude. So like I'm just begging to talk to you about this one. So tell us a little bit about it.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, so I was looking at building something new, and then when 94 Chevy and GMC came out with a new body style, that rolled body, I ended up ordering one from the GMC dealership, worked with Ground Force out of Pennsylvania on the suspension kit because it was pretty much the same as the, I guess you can call them square bodies S10 back in the day.
Uh-huh.
So I built that up, got it to Carlisle just in time for the Old Truck Nationals in 94. And, back in the day, you did the display with the rope and the carpet and all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
I was part of that. And believe it or not, I was filling out my tech sheet for Sport Truck magazine, and Courtney rolls up on the golf cart with that big old smile that he always had. And we just started talking, and it was like I said, like I've known the dude forever. And
awesome.
He's like, yeah, he goes, we usually don't shoot black trucks because of the situation of trying to shoot a black truck, which I never did until I actually started doing photography work, how difficult it is. But he shot it because it was a brand new body, and it was one of the first ones done. I had a roll pan in the back, got as much done as I could because it was a brand new truck. Trying to find parts for new body styles kind of tough.
Mm-hmm.
But so that started the ball rolling, and I met Courtney again at another show in PA. Probably about 3 months later, with Sean Carlson was there too.
Oh wow! Rest in peace to the homie.
Yeah, it was dope. So we were hanging out, and next thing I know, he's like, "Oh, dude, you need to come out to a truck show in California." Well, as a kid on a BMX bike or even a skateboard, the place you want to see at some point in your life is California.
Yeah, oh yeah, you're like, sign me up, buddy.
Yeah, I jumped on that bandwagon, and I flew out for Easter Spring Splash for 95.
Wow, dude, that's like in the heyday, like 95 to 98. I mean, some of epic times, dude.
Yeah, so everything's an adventure in a mini truck scene. Flew out there into San Diego, but Courtney actually lived in Anaheim. And I don't know if you remember the Alpha McLean Cruiser, the Toyota.
Yeah, I think I do, from some photos that he shared in the magazine, I think.
Yeah, it was actually a standard cab, short box, body drop. The Chop Shop did it. They put Alpha McLean 16-inch wheels on it, but they obviously tucked.
Yes.
So they called it the Alpha McLean Cruiser. The thing was bad. It was dope. His nickname's Buffalo. Everybody, I'm in Negative Camber, so everybody in Camber's got a nickname.
Right.
He picks me up at the airport, and we go directly to the Chop Shop.
Ah, right. Down in basically San Diego, right around that area.
Yeah, so like I'm sitting there like, holy, I'm at the Chop Shop. Like,
yeah, you're like, dude, the spot, like where the modern, bags were placed on vehicles and,
everything. Yeah.
Everything.
And that's where I ended up getting the airbags for the Sonoma, because I just had it, full lowering kit in it at the time.
Yep.
But yeah, I cruised out to Arizona, the Spring Splash, in the back of the Alpha McLean Cruiser, and met Courtney in Arizona. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And he asked me to come work for the magazine. So I took a couple of photography classes at the local college and went from there.
Dude, those are just epic times in our life and your life. And one thing that is interesting, that kind of, like I try to think of tech, and you place like a time period on it. So for those listening, maybe some of the younger kinfolk, I remember I took one of my first work travel deals in maybe like 99-ish, and that was, I think, the second time I was ever on a plane, right? But here was the funny thing. So you're talking 95. That was like when the internet was just starting to kind of get going with AOL and all that stuff. That was probably even before like MapQuest, because I remember in 99 when I went on a work trip, I was like, man, how I was going by myself. I'm like, how am I going to get from the Greenville airport to the call center? Like, what am I going to do? And it was like, oh, we print MapQuest, and like, we land at night, and like I'm trying to find the dome light and figure out where to go. But like, think about it, for the listeners, it's like 9/5, dude. It was, you book a flight probably over the phone, right? And then you land, 100%. And then like your homie's like, okay, you probably talk to him on the phone, and you're like, all right, I'm going to be landing at, this time. And then he was just looking for you.
Pretty much, dude. And like, if you had some money, you had a pager.
Right. True.
So, yeah. I always love listening to people complain nowadays. I'm like, so I would sit in the airport all day. You do it too. You fly all over the country. And back then, there was no internet unless you plugged into dial-up.
Right, yeah.
So I was using 3-inch hard disks.
Yes.
To write my articles for the magazine.
Yep.
And people don't know the struggle that we had.
Yeah, they don't. And, when my parents had their first computer, we had those disks, and I would go, and I was like on this Wu-Tang, unofficial Wu-Tang newsletter. And it was like I would download them, but like you look back at those discs and they hold like 70 megabytes or just something insane. And it was like, I mean, our phones. They're talking about the new iPhone might be a terabyte, dude. It's just like insane, dude.
We didn't even have. It was a bag phone back then, so it never really worked. So you get to the airport, like you said, you land, you're calling your buddies or texting them. Paging them. Hey man, and just meet them out in front of the airport, and hopefully they show up.
Yeah, here's the throwback term of the week, man. Roaming, dude. I remember I was working for the cell phone companies in the late 90s, and, it was like, oh, your phone could get cloned, and then, they were always worried about, so, like, we had this thing, like, if you went out of town, you had to punch in this code, and I'm like, dude, like, now it's like just the iPhone, there's, like, one model, and it's like, oh, you want to go to Africa? No problem. You don't need a satellite phone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like you said, when I was building it, they shot my 94 for the magazine, it was all black. Then Courtney comes up with the idea to build a cover truck. So we get that ball rolling. So, you get your renderings done and they email them to you now. And everybody knows about it like in an hour.
Yeah.
My renderings were sent by mail by a girl named Christine Bayon that used to work for Hot Wheels.
Yeah, and I have now, I think she goes by Hot Rod Christina now.
Oh, does she?
Right. But I became kind of friends with her, and like, I was even thumbing through, when you look at, we'll talk a little bit about some of the history in the magazines, but like seeing it in the magazine, right, is awesome. Yep. And like her history goes back, I think, she always mentions her ex, like he worked at Beltec, right? So she had this unique opportunity. But I always wanted to ask you, like, how did you link up with Christina? Like, how did that obviously probably came through Courtney?
Yeah, everything, like, people that know Courtney, like, it was never like, Courtney could call from anywhere, to House of Colors, 3M, anyone, and they liked him so much it was never a question. Like if you said, hey, Courtney told me to call, and it's like, what do you need? Right,
exactly. Yeah, because he was connecting people. Oh, we're gonna shoot this. Hey, hook this guy. You know what I mean? All that.
Yeah, like he got the ball rolling with this whole building my truck for the cover. And I got a guy in Virginia that was going to paint it that didn't work out. So I had the guys at Air Graphics in New Jersey paint it. Mm-hmm. But, they were kind of hesitant because they weren't sure. And I was like, well, call the dude at House of Colors. They'll take care of everything. And Joe Calabrese from Air Graphics called me back and said, yeah, they're sending gallons of everything. Like, they're like, whatever Courtney needs, we got it covered. So, and I worked with Bill Hancock over at Colorado Customs and did everything on it. And the guys over at TCI for the chrome plated 4-link. And Courtney goes, call Catskin Leather Interior. They're going to take care of that. And Bill Necessities back in the day, Bucky owned that. Mm-hmm. And same thing there because the 94 S10 in Sonoma had a round steering column. And in 95, it went to the airbag to square. So we had one-off billet dash pieces in the Sonoma originally.
Oh, that's sick, dude. Yeah, because I remember Mike Self back in the early Street Tracks days. He even wrote a editorial, and I mentioned it before, where he talked about how like '94 was like the last of the old school kind of, even though it was the new body. I have my '94 S10, and it, it didn't have the airbag. It was kind of, it didn't have all of the safety stuff, and then like a 9.5 hit, and obviously things were full fledged. But yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Is yours a stick or is it an automatic?
So mine was a stick, dude.
So do you realize it was a 4.3 or
Mine was the 4 banger, dude. Not even the 4.3.
See, it was crazy because the 4.3 in the old body that was a stick, the trans never stuck below the frame rail.
Mm-hmm.
And in the new body, it's stuck below the frame rail like 1.5 inches.
Oh, right. I remember like Alter or someone was making that it might have been Devious even. They got on board with making them too, like that cross member to try to move that up because it hung low.
Yeah, because Jody Hall from the Chop Shop in Kentucky put the 4-link in and redid the air ride and raised all the mounts up to get that transmission above the frame rail.
Yeah, at the drop shop.
Yep, the drop shop, excuse me.
Yeah. We were talking about Gendro and those guys. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And all that's bringing back memories of reading the magazine, obviously, and guys going, hey, I want to go lower. And that was before people would just go, boom, brand new, body drop, doom, done, That was insane. Now, so June 99, it's on the cover. Now, I wanted to ask you, though, so did it run, I'd have to look back, but did it run in Sport Truck when it was black?
No, it did not, because Courtney's like, and I wanted it, like, back in the day, you're a mini trucker. You kind of wanted your stuff in Mini Truck magazine.
Yeah, yep.
Sport Trucks, nothing to do with Sport Truck. Sport Truck was cool, but, Mini Trucking
was the shit.
It was shit.
Right.
So I'm like, the dude comes up from Sport Truck. He's like, you ready to go? I was like, no, Mini Trucking shooting it.
Oh, yeah. And he's just like, F you, get out of here.
And he's like, what? I was like, no offense, dude, but it's Mini Trucking. Like,
yep.
That's where I wanted to be, which was freaking awesome. And it was funny because my girlfriend at the time, I promised her, if I get a shot for the magazine, we'll get engaged.
Oh, snap.
And Courtney came flying up on the golf cart. He's like, I hear wedding bells. Well, that didn't work out. When I went to see him in California, I stayed like an extra 3 weeks.
Oh, damn. Yeah, so you formed that close relationship with him over the years.
Yeah, it came out good, and I was blessed because everything worked out, and I got my wife now is phenomenal. Like, everything I do, like mini trucks or anything, I run a BMX team as well, and she's on board with anything I do. Yeah,
dude, that's sick, man. Now, is it the same? No, I got to ask, was it the same chick or no?
No, different one, totally different one.
But it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out perfect. She got all mad when I got home, and I flew back out to California again. Then I told her I'm building a cover truck, and that was the end of that one.
Oh yeah, I love it. Yeah, and to your point, for anybody that wants to check out, now we recently in All Time Low magazine we did a feature on Hot Rod Christina. I actually sat down with her, and she's on Instagram. It's Hot Rod Christina with a K. And of course, to your point, she used to go by Bane. I think it was Bane. But that rendering ran a Mini Truckin'. They did a feature project updates back in like September of '98. And it was known as like Better Late Than Never, a look at Chris Schmidt's Sonoma, which we're talking to Chris now. Now, 99, so there's a couple fun facts I want to share about your cover, right, based upon the extensive research we do here. But June 99, my understanding, now I know kind of why they do this, right? The feature itself said it was shot by Mini Truckin' staff, right? And we all kind of know why they would sometimes do that. But can you set the record straight? You shot those photos, right?
Courtney actually shot those photos at Boger Bash in North Carolina at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Ah, okay. Okay,
and
see.
he left.
Okay.
Usually when you leave a publication or a magazine,
yes,
then it becomes the staff. So Courtney shot the whole entire thing. And that was a crazy situation because it took so long to get the truck painted. They weren't sure they were going to make it a cover truck.
Right, exactly. Okay, because I remember hearing some of that from you back in the day.
Yeah, and as well as sometimes you're signing your life to some of these deals with some of these manufacturers. If it's not on the cover, you got to reimburse them for the product.
Yeah. So there's and see, I appreciate you clearing that up because like I always thought that knowing that you were dabbling, and we'll talk more about your connection with Mini Truckin', but I kind of assumed, and I knew. And that's kind of one of the questions I have for you, like that whole dynamic, right? That was right around the time that Courtney had left. But, the cool thing is, a couple fun facts I have is it was the 10th truck on the cover with Colorado Custom Wheels. As you mentioned, we've had Bill Hancock on. We've had Michael and the current team, the owners of Colorado, my favorite wheel company out there, Colorado Custom Wheels. It was the sixth, believe it or not, the sixth NC truck to grace the cover. That's pretty cool,
really?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I never knew that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a funny story, too, about...
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, when I first met Courtney, I was running another mini truck club called Poor Boys Unlimited.
Oh, really? I never heard of that one.
Yeah, and I got to, when I was in California for Spring Splash, I met all the dudes from NC, and, every club's cool. You got your group of guys, you click with them and all that stuff, and Courtney's like, we only ask once. And if you say no, it's never going to happen again. I was like, well, I got to kind of think about it because I got my buddies back here, and I came home and talked to them, and they weren't much on traveling. So I'm just like, yeah, let's do this. And all of a sudden I'm the East Coast rep for NC.
Ah, yeah. Because he had faith in you, man.
Yeah. And back then, well, like you said, there was really no internet. So you tried to control who's in your club because you want a quality level and all that. So people like the boys from Florida and everybody like Chuck Healy, they sent me they mailed me pictures of their trucks.
Yes. Yeah. And people, talk about technology. It was like the pen pal days, literally, of like, hey, man, let me get you a self-addressed stamped envelope.
Yeah,
we'll
exactly.
mail these. Can you send them back for me? You're like, no, man. No, but yeah. And I appreciate, the facts that we always try to get down to is with that, it put Courtney at 15 total covers that he shot that he was credited with. Now, granted, to your point, he wasn't credited maybe in the feature, but, we know, and those are the facts that we want to get to. But, that's pretty cool. He shot 15 covers, and yours was one of them. And, man, it's a cool one.
Yeah. It was because Courtney called me up. I was driving down from here to Charlotte, and he's like, dude, I've got another truck we might shoot for the cover, and I got to see how yours came out. So I'm just like, in your head, you're thinking, I'm going to owe people a lot of money if this thing's not cover. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
and we rolled it out of the trailer at 3:00 in the morning when we got there, and everyone was just like, okay.
Yeah, it came. Now, one thing I always like to ask is, do you remember where it was shot? I think you said Booger Bash, right?
Yeah, it was shot at Booger Bash on the back side of the speedway in one of the parking lots because it was fall, so the leaves were changing.
Ah.
So it kind of worked out good with the colors of the truck at the time.
Yeah, dude, it came together. Now, this is something that, people, listeners know, I love this stuff. I love these facts. I love getting down to it. And I brought this up before, and I've even talked to Hot Rod Christina recently about it, right? So one of the coolest things, right? So you segued it with Courtney and, with Brian and then Steve. They had this unique opportunity literally right around the time we're talking about because, June 99 was, give or take, right around that summer time is when they decided, hey, we're going to leave McMullen and we're going to go over to this new venture, right? And we've had Brian McCormick on and we've talked about that. But this, but so talk to us a little bit about, there was almost, and according to Brian McCormick, they knew what truck was going to go on the cover, as Big Mike Kaufman's, but your truck kind of almost and really did appear kind of on the first Street Trucks cover too.
Yeah, so the magazine came out, we were in Spring Splash. It came out weird because I went with Courtney to Street Trucks because like I said, me and Courtney were really, really good friends. Yeah,
you became great friends, yep.
So wherever he went, I went. He was with Hot Bike for a little while, so I worked with him at Hot Bike. Then he was talking about this venture with Street Trucks and all that stuff. I'm like, wherever you're going, I'm going.
Yep.
Because, he
you're
taught
loyal.
me.
Yep.
Yeah. So he sends me, they had a press pack release.
Yes.
And it's a folder. So my truck's on the cover of the folder.
Yes.
And it was also on the promotional flyers.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get my hands on one of those. So
I think I might have a couple. And if I do, I'll send you one.
You're the man, brother. And I tell you, this stuff. Now, here's the other cool thing that I remember. So, I this is well documented. I've written about it a little bit on my short column in Street Trucks. But, around that time, there was the buzz. Again, internet wasn't, it was kind of growing then. You're talking 99 when street trucks started. But, we had Street Source, we had Sport Truck Chat, which many of us remember. But stuff was starting to kind of grow around that time. And what I thought was unique was when the first street trucks hit, there was this buzz, and we're like driving around, hitting the bookstores and all this stuff, and we find it. Well, we read that thing front to back because the first, from August to the end of that year, it was bi-monthly, right? And we've,
Correct.
Brian talked about it because, obviously this, right? Working in the industry, you got to kind of get your content, you got to get your footing, right? Yeah. So, we read that thing, and I'm so glad I still have that. But when you folded to Steve Stillwell, he had this trench coat on, and he has the one arm kind of open, and he's laughing, and you see like three covers in there. It was the Kaufman, it was yours. But I always wondered if that was actually like the Test magazine, and someone had hinted to me recently they thought maybe it was like part of the press kit. But that's freaking awesome, dude.
Yeah, there was a press kit. I'm not sure what went down, but I'm assuming what happened was, since Courtney worked and it was shot, and he worked for Mini Truckin' at the time, they had the rights to all those pictures. So he had a couple. That picture that's on that press release, believe it or not, if you can get a copy of it, or if I send you one, it was actually pictures from Boger Bash with the door open, the hood open, and the Tahoe cover open.
Ah, interesting.
And and the Photoshop team shut the door, shut the hood, shut the Tahoe cover.
Oh, really?
If you look in the graphics, you can see people standing there, but it looks like the truck's doing 100 miles an hour down the highway.
Yeah, and that was like before the powerful tools we have now, like Photoshop Express on the phone. Like, I can't believe the stuff you can do. Like,
people don't realize.
Yeah, we have more tools on our phone than arguably they had, on their freaking computers back then. Yeah,
and like you said, it's crazy because people like back in the day to shoot a motorcycle. It was like I worked with Courtney on a couple covers, just helping them set up stuff because I was hanging out in California.
Mm-hmm.
But the lighting just to set it up so you wouldn't get that starburst effect, the reflection off the chrome from the flash.
Mm-hmm.
It would take those guys like a day.
Insane.
Just
they earned that money.
Shot right because Photoshop wasn't really around.
Yeah, exactly.
So those guys shooting those trucks and those anybody doing photography work back then, like it was a process. Like you said, nowadays you can edit stuff on your phone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
and we're talking to Chris Schmidt. His truck, Chris NC for Life, basically had ran on June 99, Mini Truckin' cover. Awesome, super clean truck. We'll share some photos and a little bit of video of, that feature. But, the other dynamic that I thought was cool, right, is so we talked a little bit about how, you kind of were on that press release. You had that tie-in there right around with the homie Courtney, rest in peace, with that connection. But then also, we mentioned your rendering ran in Mini Truckin', so Hot Rod Christina's rendering of your truck. But then it also started popping up a little bit like on the Subscribe. There was that famous, it's probably not even a rolling shot maybe, but I always remember in the first few street trucks, you'll see it, I think even on the subscription cards, but it was also in one of the placements towards the back where it said, subscribe, and that had to have been cool for you, man.
Yeah, I was, it's always psyched to see your stuff everywhere, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
I actually saw it one time, somebody sent me one thing, an RC car was painted the same, and my buddy owned a stereo shop, and do you remember, it was Beach Madness? Not Beach Madness, it was down in Daytona.
Yeah, it was Spring Break Nationals.
Yeah, the car stereo contest?
Yep.
Yeah, my buddy had a dually laid out with everything on it, and we had a 40-foot enclosed trailer, and we brought it down there, and it was like 2 a.m. rolling Daytona on A1A, and this dude rolls up in a standard cab S10 with the same paint job.
No way.
Dude, and I'm sitting there looking at him. I'm driving the dually. He's like, hey, nice truck. I was like, hey, that thing's pretty cool. He's like, yeah, it was on the cover of the magazine. I'm like, really? I got a truck in the trailer that's been on the cover of the magazine. Looks identical to that. The kid looked and just drove off.
Dude, what are the chances? I mean, Florida man back in the 90s.
Everywhere, yeah. But it was cool, though, because it's, anything, somebody duplicates your stuff, I think it's, a testament of what you built.
Yeah, definitely.
And, no matter what anybody builds, I think it's rad. And I respect anything anyone builds anyway, so.
Yeah, man. Well, talk to us, I know, like, I love getting off on these little, like, tangents, as far as all these cool little stories and stuff. Just overall with the truck, right? Just talk to us a little bit about the paint and then some of the mods that you had done, because, man, dude, it was one of the cleanest. And by the way, another fun fact, it was, from all of my research, it was the only Sonoma to ever grace the cover of Mini Truckin' magazine.
Yeah,
Crazy.
that I knew, because I was looking at S10s at the time, and I was running into Chevy dealers. And, we're mini truckers, got the Dickie shorts on,
Yeah.
T-shirt, chain wallet, and a flat bill and a pair of Vans.
Oh,
and
yeah.
no one wanted to deal with me because I don't know, at the time, I think I was like 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
And they didn't think I had any money. I walked into this GMC dealership, and the guy pops on the computer. We build the thing, because back in the day, you picked what you wanted on your vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like a package thing. So I knew I wanted certain things. Obviously, I didn't need aluminum wheels or all that because they were getting tossed anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And the dude's like, yeah, we'll order that thing up for you, no problem. And slap down $500 deposit. And that's kind of how I ended up with a GMC.
Really? So just kind of wandering in and then finding something you liked.
Yeah, they were way cool about it. They didn't say, oh, we can't order it. You can't do this. You can't do that. This dude sat down at the computer with me. We ordered that banger up, had the thing in 3 months, and started building it. The UPS guy loved it. He come to the house, dropping stuff off. He'd pop his head in the garage to see how the progress is going. And God bless my mom and dad. They passed, but I took over the garage when I got into the mini trucking thing. My mom never got to park a car in the garage again.
Wow. Well, rest in peace to your parents.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, the paint, you kind of mentioned earlier how good it stuck out. I mean, that was a big thing. I mean, I always was a fan of the Sonoma grills. Those years was that blue one from NC, I think, with the topper. There were a few.
Basic.
Yeah, there were a few that stuck out, but like yours to me was big. Of course, it had the Colorado custom wheels, but I also like the roll pan setup on it. Was that just you talked to us a little bit about the roll pan, because I remember the way the tag looked and stuff. It just looked bitchin' on there.
Yeah, so the roll pan was a Sir Michael's roll pan. Then I ordered the license plate insert.
Yes.
And my buddies down in Maryland, I sent it down there. They welded that thing up, brought it back up, and the grill was like a one-off grill. I can't remember where I got it from.
Like it was like a street scene grill or something like that?
Yeah, because most of them were like Kurtz, and most Sonomas, because the Sonoma had a recess, like a 3-inch recess for the grill,
mm-hmm.
where mine, you cut that recess out and it laid in flush.
Ah, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
And those clear tail lights, I got those from Street Scene, I think, and all of a sudden they stopped making them because of some traffic violation
or something. Yeah,
some deal like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably bought my same taillights around the same time you did, and I remember like the craze was there, then it was kind of gone, and it was like we sold them, and then like they were the hottest commodity 10 years later. Like you just can't find them, or you couldn't at that time. But the other unique thing that I thought was like, I always loved looking at your feature because I had the similarities, the same dash, with the headlight switch on the left and stuff. But like even the interior of the bed, and then the of course yours was the extended cab. So the extended cab portion with the stereo and the tweed, like, dude, all of that flowed so nice, even into the bed, man.
Yeah, my buddies at East Coast Audio did all that for me.
Mm-hmm.
We sent the amps out to be polished, all that good stuff. And believe it or not, I kept the factory stereo system intact.
Mm-hmm.
And that system with the ME Court subs and all that jazz was a separate system that ran off an Alpine 6-disc CD changer.
Oh, really? That's pretty neat.
So when you kind of looked in the truck, I tried to keep it as clean as possible because I was kind of going like a hot rod vibe, trying to keep it like super clean. So when you kind of looked in the truck, we kept the side panels where those extended cab seats pulled down.
Mm-hmm.
So we cut the backing, all that out, and kept the original plate. So when you looked in the back of the truck, it'll look like there was nothing there besides the speaker box was low, but.
Yeah, and see, another thing, the Sonomas were always kind of a little bit of a cut above of, almost like, the GMC brand, right? So I always liked, I always liked how in yours, although it was the stick like mine, you had that nicer center console, and then you had like those bucket seats, and it just really looked awesome. And then of course you had some of the billet pieces, but I remember reading in your feature one of our favorite companies, and the billet stuff and all the sport truck craze and all this old school stuff is coming back now. But Empire Motorsports, dude, you had that shift knob.
Yeah, I had that. I had their dashboard. I had their pedals.
Yep.
And I actually got their banner in my garage right now.
Oh man, dude, see that's classic stuff. And when we had Tim Davis, one of my homies, TD, I call him, from RA, when we had him on, dude, he talked about working at Hunters and when Boyd came to town, and when 17s turned to 20s, and you and I, that's the era that we kind of started in, or at least were really groomed in. And when you look back and you look at the brands and you look at some of these the mods and stuff, like even the Colorado Custom Wheels, when we had Bill Hancock on talking about billet wheel history, he talked about what a path these wheels like cut, so to speak, because they sold so well, like they were so timeless, man.
Huge, 100%. Like, yeah, I was trying, like you said, it was timeless, and I was trying to build a truck with a graphic job, and thanks to Christine,
yes,
she made that happen. Like, you would talk to her, like you said, back in the day, it was over the phone, and she wanted to know everything you were doing to your vehicle. What wheels, what tire, what's the drop? Are you body dropping it? And mine, when I first built it, that was before body drops. So she wanted to know the stance, and, I think she did 2 renderings of the truck, and that's what we ended up with.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Now, did you have the foresight to like keep that stuff? Like you had that OG rendering?
I lost the OG rendering because the guy who was originally painted in Virginia that kind of hosed me never gave it back.
Yep.
I literally went and picked the truck up and yanked it out of his shop because he was telling me he was doing everything. And a couple of my boys checked on it, and they're like, dude, the truck is sitting there doing like nothing. And it sat there for almost like a year.
Yeah, like so many people, we've heard these horror stories and stuff.
Yep.
Well, what was cool is when we did the write-up on Christina in All Time Low magazine, one of our favorite magazines, I'd remind the viewers, atlmagazine.com. You can order a subscription or individual issues. We did the sit-down interview, and we're trying to highlight women, ladies on the podcast as well as in print. And when we highlighted her, she had sent me a photo of, she might even have one or a copy. I forget, what they did back then, if they would take it to like a Kinko's and they would make a copy or what they would do.
That's what I did. Yep.
Yeah, and she, her work has stood the test of time. She's still doing stuff, and it kind of became friends with her and whatnot. But, that cover, with the lady on it, just the awesome kind of autumn colors and stuff. I mean, really, it's a timeless truck, man, and I just salute you for building something so clean, man.
I appreciate it, man. That's what I wanted to do, so.
Yeah, June 99. So think about it. It's 22 years ago this month. It was on the cover. And something I tend to forget to ask, the guest that we have on is, what was the fate of the truck? So, right, I know it may be kind of a sore subject, but I did want to ask you because some people might be like, well, damn, he had this badass truck. What happened to it?
So I know where it went. It was, back then you were just like, oh, it's time to build something else. You didn't think about keeping it because you're young and you're just like, whatever.
Yep.
I'm moving on to the next thing. And I sold that off, and, I met my wife, and we were doing our thing, and I ended up buying a 60 wagon from Bones down in Florida.
Oh, from Bones?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I bought Bones 60 wagon, and it was funny because I had the money to buy an engagement ring. And she's like, I know you want the car, buy it.
No way. So that means she's a keeper, man.
Dude, like, I didn't know if it was a setup or what. And I love my wife to death.
I was going to say, I thought she was going to have a knife getting ready to go. You're like, okay, I'm going to get the car. Oh, gone.
She was beyond psyched. I got the car, talked to Bill from Colorado Customs. We threw a set of 20 and 22-inch Segundos on it and rolled it.
Hells yeah, man.
But my truck, I sold to the painter who painted it.
Not the asshole painter.
No, the dude from Air Graphics, Joe Calabrese. He was a good dude. Uh-huh. He used it for his booth,
Smart, kind of an advertisement type deal. Yep.
He ended up selling at a Mecum auction.
No,
because I called him quite a few years later, probably about 5-6 years later, to see if he still had the truck because I wanted it back.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "No, I sold it." And as you know, Mecum doesn't give up who they sold vehicles to.
Oh, I did not realize that. I know Barrett Jackson, you can find like you have to sign in now to see the price and all that. But of course, to your point, I guess I never even thought about maybe Barrett Jackson doesn't either. Okay.
Yeah, and after the sale, if you don't know who bought it at the time, you're never going to find out. So I ran VIN numbers. I had my buddy run VIN numbers. The truck was never registered, and I'm like, and like someone knows where a mini truck is.
Mm-hmm.
If it's in the middle of field in Idaho, they'll
Yeah.
send you a picture of it. You know what I'm saying? And this thing disappears. I'm like, I'm bumming. Then Jay Sandusky, one of my buddies in NC, bought my dually I had, and he's like, "Where's your truck?" And I was like, "I don't know, dude." And I had the VIN number, so I gave it to him. And that dude can find anything. 3 days later, he's got pictures of my truck in a museum.
Dude.
A private collector owns the truck.
I've heard of this guy that he literally, like, people have told me, they're like, "Oh, dude, this guy, if he can't find it, it's gone."
Bro, he's like, boom, like 3 days. He's like I said, he's got pictures of it. And he's like, "Oh, I'm contacting the guy that works at the museum, and I'll get down to the bottom of it." And he,
like a sleuth,
we're going back
man.
and forth for like 2 months, and the guy won't sell. He's got like 200 and some cars in his collection.
Wow.
And he will not sell my truck. And the pictures of my truck are the way I sold it to the painter.
Yeah,
The
it's
street
probably
truck-
just been cranked up here and there, and that's it.
Yep, the street truck stickers and the extended cab window are still there.
Wow.
Everything is what it is, but the guy won't sell the truck.
Dude, you talk about, like, the homie Josh Ellis calls he just bought a full-size Chevy OBS, and he calls it the time capsule. Dude, your Sonoma's a time capsule.
It's 100%. And when I talked to the painter, he goes, "I put like 3,000 miles on it, if that." So that truck's sitting there probably with 9,000 miles on it.
Dude. Well, that reminds me when I've been ripping this video from, you remember Steve from Alter Images. When I first got in the scene, I was buying some stuff from him. We had him on, great guy. He's doing his thing. And, he had sent, like, with a lot of his customers, he'd send this VHS tape, and I've talked about it, a lot over the course of time. And, I kept it 20 years. I got it converted to digital, been ripping it. And they go to, obviously a lot of shows they put on there. But one of them was the Caltruck Jam 98, and it was the summer one. So they show I'm going to release the footage soon, the Budnick truck that was on May 98 sport truck, right? The yellow one with the pop-up headlights, right? Well, when they're there, his homie, I don't know the homie's name, his homie goes, "Okay, I'm going to try to show you this." And of course they got the big-ass video camera deal. Not the shoulder one, but the bigger one and the handheld.
Yeah.
And they go inside the truck, and they're like, "This truck has," and I forget, you'll hear him say it on there. It's like, "This truck has like 4,000 miles on it." And like, you look at that truck, and I know like it went to auction, I think, and last I had researched and found and whatnot, I think, but I believe it was sold. But like, you look at that truck, and like, dude, that truck right now is literally gold, dude. Like, someone would probably pay like 35, 40 grand for that truck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I talked to a dude about my truck. He goes, "The truck's been appraised at like, because obviously they get their stuff appraised with a collection like that." He said the truck's appraised at like 35 grand. I'm like, "Okay, cool.
You're
I'll
like,
give you 35 grand.
You're like, "Yeah, I'm coming now." Yeah, because
he's
you
like,
have
"No."
the nostalgia and stuff. But hopefully someone like that, like you'll see these. I talked to Van Diemen recently about with these car collections and stuff, and I forget if we were recording at the time, but you'll see guys will get to an age where they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna let my old vintage automobilia signs go, or my collection, or this or that."
Yeah.
So hopefully, like, with the interest that you've shown, that if and when that day ever comes, you'd be first to be able to make the decline if you couldn't buy it.
He's, from what I understand, what Jay's been going back and forth with him, he's willing to do that because I wanted it for my son.
Right, right, exactly. So as long as you're number one on the list for first right of refusal, that that to me is something, that's that line in the sand. Yep, that's good stuff.
Thanks.
Well, I want to talk about some other things, like, dude, the Sonoma, like, bro, like, I literally, I've been like itching to talk about this truck because it's etched in my mind. And what's funny, I didn't say this at the beginning, but you and we had connected back like late 90s, early 2000s, like through email, like when I still got my old Hotmail. And somehow, I don't know if that formed from like Street Truck or from Street Scene / Street Source, and then Sport Truck and that type of stuff. But I remember we had like connected because, I was like, "Oh, I got a 94 and this and that." And it's crazy to think, like, although we didn't maybe talk all these years, when Randy had told me, "Yo, Chris Schmidt," like, immediately I was like, "Yeah, I know that name." He goes, "Oh, man, you're going to want to hear this." So talk to us a little bit about, like, how this whole TukLugs thing came about.
Well, I was kind of like, looking for a truck, but not looking for a truck.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim from NC in Florida just sold his Toyota.
Yes,
And
that's
I'm
the homie.
like, yeah. So I called him. I'm like, dude, I know you're selling it. He goes, why? You looking for a truck? I was like, well, kind of. Then he's like, well, Randy's selling some of his stuff off. So I talked to Randy this day. Like you said, your mini truck crew you talk to him all.
Oh, yeah.
You talk, like I've been out of the scene for almost 20 years, per se.
Mm-hmm.
And, we started talking and started going back and forth. And he's like, yeah, TukLugs is for sale. And we came together on a price. And then I'm trying to figure out how to get it back up to upstate New York. And he's like, well, I'm going to Mini-Nats, bro. I'm bringing it up. I'm like, cool, I'll come down and get it. And my work schedule right now is insane.
Mm-hmm.
And Chuck Healy, who he had on a couple weeks ago.
Yes, good dude.
Yep, loved it. Love him and his wife to death.
Yep.
And I called him up to get more info on the truck because no one's seen it.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him what was up. And he's like, well, dude, I got an open space on a three-place trailer if you want me to bring it back up for you. And that kind of sealed the deal because it's all the way in Maryland now, and I just need to shoot down and pick it up at Chuck's house.
Yes. It's like, dude, it's like literally the mini Truckin planets, I don't think could have aligned any better. Because here's the thing. Randy's my homie. I got a chance to really get to know Randy over the years. Good dude. Very opinionated dude. He knows that. But Randy's Randy, right? And when Randy, like, I was like, dude, this guy's a hoarder, man. Like I'm a hoarder, but like he's a hoarder of like wheels, and I got this. But hey, guy, that's mine. And it's my homie, right? But when he told me he was going to let some stuff go, I was like, damn, is everything cool? It made sense, right? He's got to let this go to get what he wants, right? And I love, we all have to make those, like you kind of said earlier. You made that thing you had to make that decision because you had family stuff and other things you wanted to do. So when it came up, I don't think it could have went to a better person. And here's the crazy thing. If you look back at the NC trucks on the cover, I kind of talked about, how yours played a role. It was the next NC truck on the cover after your truck. Like, how crazy is that?
It was insane because I knew it was on the cover, and as crazy as that is, dude, I've got all the mini truck magazines. I've got all the sport truck magazines, I've got all that stuff. So like Randy goes, yeah, it was on the cover and tells me when. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to go check it out. And I'm going through all my mini truck magazines. That's literally the only issue I don't have.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that crazy?
But Randy sent me one with the truck. And like I said, it's cool. He sent me like all the extra upholstery. It's just like, and I'm going to keep it as true to original as possible, like Randy did.
Yep.
Just going to drive it and enjoy it and get back out to the show scene. And the amount of messages I've got when everybody found out I bought that truck was crazy. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah, it gets a lot of love when Randy, started talking to him a little bit when he brought it to Downtime in Florida. Our kinfolk, they threw that show for a while, and now they've got Relaxed on the Ranch, which is one of our favorite shows. And he brought it out there. He had the gas cans and stuff, and seeing it, I want to say that I had seen the truck. Going back in memory, I want to say that I had seen it before. Maybe I hadn't, right, in person. But it was always etched to my mind because it was a cool feature on how they did it. It has that world-famous name, TukLugs. And for Randy to have it and kind of curate it for a while, did some stuff, towards the end, definitely put the pedal down and got some things done with it. But, it stood the test of time, just like so many of other, like the Gendros. And I know the other guys were involved in that one, but that's the name that comes to mind. And when you think of like, June 99 was your Sonoma, and then September 99 was this truck, what was the feeling like when all the stars aligned for you to be able to get this one?
I was beyond stoked. And wasn't whether to buy it or not, even with everything. And my wife is just like, buy it.
Nice.
Because my daughter rode in my Sonoma.
Mm-hmm.
She was like 3. And I to this day, when she came to the house one day, she's my stepdaughter, but she's my own. She threw a nickel at me, and it hit the truck, and I just got it back from the paint shop.
Oh, wow.
And I looked, and, at the time, my wife was my girlfriend, and she didn't know, like, her jaw hit the ground. Like, I'm trying to get this truck done for take it to Charlotte. And it was the funniest thing, and she's, like, beyond stoked. Took her for a ride in it, and I'm psyched because I'm older now and I can enjoy it and not worry about certain things on the truck. Because I shot down to Maryland, a full round run, left at 2:30 in the morning, got back here at like 7 at night and it was raining, and my boy wanted to go for a ride in it, so he ripped it around the neighborhood.
Hells yeah, man. Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
cool because I think when I was recording with Chuck, like I said something about, the TukLugs, and he goes, yeah, I was the guy that took it, I was the guy that like got the truck to him. I was like, no way, man. Like, how cool is that? And it just shows the scene runs deep. And, for those that don't know, TukLugs also ran on April 2002 Auto Sound and Security. And what was cool about that one was the guy named John Skalicki, I think is how you pronounce his name. I think he shot it, but it had that real hot model on it, and another indoor shoot. And Randy had sent me photos. He's on Instagram, BOW number 2 and then NC. He had sent me some photos of the plaque and some of that feature, because that's a hard one. Those Auto Sound and Securities, man, are hard to come across. But that scraping, it was titled "Scraping By," dude, and that's a really cool feature.
I gotta check it out, or have him send me some pictures. I didn't know that one.
Yeah, I'll send you a couple screenshots or whatnot that he had sent me.
Cool.
But it was cool because I think here's the cool thing about the scene. I want to say, some of these guys, when they've sold the trucks over the years, like some of these plaques will get either passed around. I know, Jeff Gaudette, who we recently had on, talking about Down the Earth, the homies up. I want to say like up in your region, because he's up in, the Northeast, and he acquired an old Down the Earth truck. And, he talked about how he acquired some of the plaques and stuff. So, it's cool because to me, the history of these features goes, not just the truck and the magazine, but, some of these guys got a feature or two, wall plaques, things like that. And to me, that's always a unique piece of, of the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good stuff.
He's willing to help everybody.
Oh, yeah.
It's how to get it to me. If I couldn't make it, it's insane. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, it definitely is.
A lot of love.
Oh, yeah. Now, we saw Randy cruising it at Mini Nats, as you had mentioned, Southeast Mini Trucking Nationals every April in Maggie Valley, North Carolina, one of the biggest, baddest mini truck shows really in the world. You got to come in next year if you haven't, guys. Come to Maggie Valley, North Carolina every April. But what I thought was unique is, we saw him. I think there's going to be more photos come out of something that went down maybe that weekend in a good way. Yep. So I think that's cool, right? So we'll hint at that. But, what's I know this might be an easy question, might be a tough question, but like, what's the future hold for you? You kind of mentioned you're gonna maybe do a few small things to TukLugs. I'm sure that's what you want to do when you get a chance. Be in between all the normal adult things you gotta do every day. But you got to be looking forward to this one, Chris? Just maybe refreshing here and there a couple small things.
Yep, just like I said, keeping everything original. Like when people see it for 24-year-old paint job, it's in crazy shape. So we're going to keep all that original, just fix a few little, those little demons, I guess you could call them, and get her running, and plan on hitting quite a few shows next year and a couple at the end of this year. Carlisle's starting back with her show in Pennsylvania, so in August, so we might hit that up. And, I just want to start seeing everybody again. It's been way too long.
Oh, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, NC for life, that was, I think, the tag on your Sonoma. And, NC arguably, you guys are going on your 30th, as we are with Severed, but, a bunch of good kinfolk and things like that. And, speaking of NC, like, you can't say NC without, thinking of Courtney Halowell, rest in peace. Often the moniker is NC Need Courtney. I know our friend David McGotti has done a fantastic job of trying to, do different things with these pins and whatnot to raise money for the Courtney Halowell Foundation, along with Courtney's awesome mother, Maggie, Mrs. Halowell, as I call her.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she's an amazing person. Talk to us, you kind of hinted earlier, right, because we started to dabble a little bit. Talk to us a little bit about, when you think of Courtney, what do you think of?
Probably the nicest guy in the world. Like you said, he's willing to help anyone with their build or just life. And at the same point, he never sugarcoated anything. Like, if you needed to talk to him about something, he'll set you straight. He always did. Like, hey, you need to do this, or stop bitching about that. You just do what you need to do. And he took me under his wing, and I might not have been the best photographer or the best writer. So he kind of helped me with all that stuff. But I did have the enthusiasm, and my life was mini trucks. It's like, yours is.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're doing with the scene is awesome, by the way.
Thanks, man.
I can't applaud you more. You got keep it going, and showing the younger ones and where we started. Because like you said, it was a tough road. It wasn't like you hopped on the internet and ordered your parts. Yeah.
Well,
you had to call the 1-800 number. Give me.
Oops, 1-900. I mean, no, sorry. Yeah, you had to listen to Steve Nielsen talk all damn day,
Yeah.
Oh,
and he
man.
always made you laugh. Like, problem, he'd listen to you. No matter what time of the day or night it was. And you always have those few friends in your life you could call at 3 a.m. and they would jump on a plane and be there. He was that guy.
Yeah, it's a real deal, and he's a straight shooter, man.
Yeah, and because of him, I'm blessed to have everyone I have in my life across the country in every truck club, not just NC. Separate guys, relax. Everyone. It's not like everyone helps everybody.
Oh yeah, and like those three clubs forming in that 91, 92 era, I think plays. It's often not talked about maybe enough. It's just like what a part they all played. Because a lot of us, we're friends, we're brothers, we go to a lot of the same shows, we know the same people. Who doesn't know about the 6 degrees of Phil Fowler? You know what I mean? That's where the scene comes together. If we had a web, dude, it would be like all connect to Phil and Courtney. But in all seriousness, that's really cool. And what's one of your most memorable, maybe just funny stories or experiences that you can think back to the many shows that you guys went to over the years? Is there any one story that comes to mind that's like, yeah, man, Courtney did this, or we just were clowning around?
We go to Carlisle Truck Nationals every year in Pennsylvania. And I got down there with my truck on a Friday morning, get it unloaded, and you had your NC section, you had your group section. So get it unloaded, cover the truck up, and me and Courtney go back to the hotel, and we're hanging out, and we start having a couple cocktails. Well, one leads to another, and that back in the day, that's what you were hanging out.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, we get to bed at probably about 4 or 5 o'clock Friday morning.
Right.
And one of my boys is calling me from the show. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and me and Courtney are still passed. And the conversation is like, are you going to take the cover off your truck? Because everybody's walking by. You're kind of like being a D-bag.
Right, yeah.
So we boot up, get out of bed, and shoot down to the show. And back then it was film, and we're blowing through film nonstop trying to get the show covered because Carlisle was huge.
Yes, it was. I never went to it, but I saw the coverage. I forget if they had Rolling Hills or what they had there, but man, it was just so much shit.
Yep. You had semi-tractor trailers there too, which were insane, and they were built crazier than some of the trucks and trucks were.
Yeah.
But, everybody's like, when we got together, it was just like we were brothers. Like, always had a blast no matter what it was. It could be raining all weekend, and we still have over a fire pit in the middle of the night running from security, but that was another show.
Yeah, we got to make sure the statute of limitations is up on that one. But
I think we're good.
Statute of limitations.
Yeah.
One of the things we've always tried to do is if you go on Instagram, type in the hashtag RIP Courtney Halowell, HALOWELL, or with 2 L's, Halowell, you'll see we try to curate a lot of the features because if you look back over the years from Mini Truckin' in all the publications, including like the venture they were at for a minute called Trucks, when Steve and Brian went over there and they were doing that, of course, Street Trucks as well. But all of that, he contributed so much, but every time I ask that question to someone, what do you think of when you think of Courtney? Everybody says great guy and all this stuff, but he just made such contributions, and it's crazy that next month is going to mark, July is going to mark the 10th anniversary of his passing. So we want to pay homage to him, and we appreciate someone like you kind of sharing some of those cool stories that are close to you because we know that you were close to him.
Yeah. Yeah, because he passed the day after my birthday, so so it's an remembering thing. But I was all the time, even after I wasn't working for the magazine anymore. When I go to SEMA, we hang out the whole time, and it was awesome. So
yeah, and I would tell anybody if a lot of the old school guys you all know Courtney, his name. But if you have an opportunity, go out and search David Magatti, MCAUGHTY. Now, we've had David on before, but if you look at some of the things he's doing with these pins, this money is all going back to the Courtney Halowell Foundation, and someone that gave so much and really contributed arguably more than almost anybody I can think of to the scene, whether it be magazines, being an editor, feature editor, a photographer, Wyatt Strange moniker, so much awesome stuff, man. Go out. That's a way that you can contribute. And every time David launches something new, man, I'm always eager to see what it is and try to contribute any way we can.
Yeah, he's done more than I think anybody, or the lifestyle than anybody has, I think.
Yeah, and there's one of our up-and-comers, one of our friends of ours, Sean Rose. He's good friends with him, and when I think of at the end of the year, I try to think back and say, hey, what are some of the things that we did to further the scene or to contribute in a positive way? Like I think of these two guys, and I know Courtney would be looking down on these guys, going, hey, even through thick and thin, they're doing positive stuff, keeping it drama-free, keeping the pedal stomped, and I just love what they do, man.
Yeah. Like you said, keeping it drama free is the biggest thing, and hopefully younger guys realize that, because like you said, back in the day I was at a different show weekend.
Oh yeah.
And I was free Blues Mo, the boys from Organized Confusion, which is like Kevin Holland and Tiva and those dudes down there.
Mm-hmm.
At the time they're in NC now, but they literally loaded up his truck, dude. I'll never forget. And I took a ride with him to Texas, dropped that truck off, came back through Lake, picked up and head back. Like, I don't know where else people do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And they were no part of NC. I knew those guys for a while because I got their show a couple times down in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, dude, load that thing up. Let's get back to the house and we can handle it. It's stuff like that that makes our lifestyle what it is, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, man. I concur. We talked about so much, everything from the old days, to obviously, some of the contributions you've had with the magazines, Hot Rod Christina, that birthing this whole idea, this concept of where you wanted the Sonoma to go, obviously owning TukLugs now. We're still young dudes, and we got a lot ahead of us, which I'm looking forward to. But, when you look back at all of the last, 20 plus 25 years, call it, what do you remember most? What are I'd say, just to kind of sum it up, man, what do you think back on, and what's one of your favorite memories?
Dude, just meeting everyone.
Oh yeah.
Still having them as friends today, and just being blessed to be at that time. Like you said, that era was like
epic.
There's no cell phones, so you went to the newsstand every month to get your street trucks, your mini truck, and your truck. You never knew what was happening, and to learn about, what someone's building or what's new, you always had to wait for that. It was never like an instant gratification.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And
that go to the show because you didn't know what was going to be there, or you don't know what's Jay, or hey, what's or whoever's going to.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the audio kind of cut out a little bit there.
It was just the fact that you anticipated going to a show, waiting to see the new thing from whoever, from Relax, from NC to Sever to anyone really. It wasn't posted in an hour and the world knew about it.
Yes, and it was like, you had a little bit of curiosity about, I kind of heard this guy, he's going to be debuting his truck, and it wasn't like, nowadays show promoters are kind of going, hey, this is going to be at the show, come check it out, and it,
right.
There's 50-50, some people go, oh, that's great, it's cool, they're giving me the nod, like I'm going to be there, I pre-registered, and then there's other folks going, well, I don't need to go to the show now because I already saw everything that's going to be there, kind of in a sense, but yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying, and, that era is kind of like the Wu-Tang Clan, ain't nothing to F with, man, we grew up in just a great time. Obviously growing up our younger adolescents, 80s, but like you get into the 90s and the magazine and stuff. And, I often thank all of the contributors, including yourself and, the editors, the feature editors, all these different people that contributed to the magazine. Because you look at 269 issues, but a lot of us can go back and we can go, oh, this truck, June 99, Chris Schmidt's, oh, this, oh, that paint job, oh, that, that company, Empire Motorsports, all that stuff, to me, that's the line in the sand. If we didn't have Mini Truckin' and we didn't have those people that made that magazine happen, a lot of that history would be lost. You know what I mean?
Well, and even watching TV today, and it was cool to watch, like, Bill from Extensive throw.
Yes.
I met Bill back in the day when his first enclosed trailer was an old box truck that they put axles on, an air ride.
Oh, yeah.
With the roll-up door, and, like, that was out of Waco, Texas.
Yep.
Like, nobody knew who he was. Like, and you got, like, Alex Anderson and all those dudes that, like, you watched them progress and grow, and people respect them now, and it's cool to know where they came from, and you can explain to people where they came from, that it just pop building stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like a Ryan Fringlinghouse, a Mike Finnegan, Bill Carlton, like those three names, arguably, sprung out of this whole mini truck full-size scene, but then, they ran with it, and they had great success with TV shows or stuff that they're still doing, content creation. Like Mike Finnegan, I mean, dude, we had him on. I mean, he hustled hard, dude. I mean, he kind of came up from your area, made his way over to Cali, did all the mini truck and stuff, did sport truck, dabbled in hot rod magazines. Like, some people probably sit back, oh, must be nice for him, have all this success. But, dude, you talk about a grind. I mean, that's a 20-year grind, dude, to get to where he was.
I tell people say that, like you said, Ryan and even Jeff from TV.
Yep.
He was like, they're like, oh, it must be nice, they're making all this money. I was like, dude, they were working out of a garbage can.
Yes.
It wasn't like you said, it wasn't instant. These guys learned their trade and became phenomenal at what they do.
Yep. And Jeff's another one, like you said, Devious Customs, one of my homies, and just a good dude, and had a big part in Courtney's, 50s Chevrolet getting finished, like a lot of guys, played a part. I know Brett from Sever did as well, and a lot of different people.
All those, everyone is like, we're just a big family at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
And to be able to keep that going and teach the younger guys and girls coming in to keep it that way would be awesome.
Yeah, someone had that I don't know, and I mentioned this in Street Trucks. I don't know who came up with the moniker thicker than a sticker, but whoever did, I saw, some of the RA folks, they had all the jackets together and stuff like that, maybe at SEMA one year, but someone came up with that. I don't know if it was Brooke and Sever, or I don't know if it was Brooke in RA Florida or who, but I mean, it really is one of those things, like we all love the club that we're in, but at the end of the day, we're down to help all the homies and the chicas, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
sure.
Well, Chris, dude, NC for life, Chris Schmidt, good dude. Man, listen, I really, on behalf of Mike and I, we appreciate you sitting down. I mean, dude, I knew it was going to be going down memory lane a little bit, but I mean, this was even better than I could imagined. And, folks can go out, I guess, on Facebook and type in Chris Schmidt and follow you there, right?
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Yep, Chris Schmidt.
Yeah, my Instagram is my BMX team, which is Hostile Northeast.
Nice. Hostile Northeast.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, dude, Chris, man, listen, let's keep in touch. I know, I wish you all the success with, Randy and Gendro and some of the previous owners of TukLugs. I mean, it's a great truck, as you know. We're looking forward to your success, and, man, we just can't wait to slap hands with you at a show and chop it up.
Oh, you definitely. Thanks for having me on, man. I'm super stoked, and definitely going to see you guys out there sooner than later.
Yes, sir. And any old photos you have, just send them our way. We'll be sharing them.
I got video, dude. I got a stockpile of videos too.
Dude, you know what I call that? Truck smut.
Yeah, 100%.
Trafficking across state lines. I love it, brother.
Yeah. All right, brother. Thank you so much for having me on again. I appreciate it.
Yep, you're welcome. We'll see you, Chris.
All right, bro. Later.